Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 25 Joshua Pearce career mode. This is part 27 of the series. If you did miss the last episode, we were in Miami for the first sprint round of the season with Max Verstappen taking his second win, and it was a dominant race win as well, with Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc joining him up on the podium. And as for us in the Grand Prix, we had a terrible qualifying which put us last to start the race and was caught in an early incident with Kimi Antonelli and Oliver Behrman bringing out the red flag. This actually helped us massively though, throwing us up to a finishing position of 6th, which wasn't too bad considering the pace that we had and the overall just struggles in the end. But heading into this weekend's race, it is Max Verstappen who extends his championship lead to 21 points ahead of Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri sits third, 3 points behind Lando. Myself in 6th position, 2 points behind Lewis. And Sonny Hayes is in 19th, still yet to score a point this season. And McLaren moved to the top of the constructors standing, 6 points clear of Red Bull Ford. Then it's Ferrari sitting third. Apex GP, we sit fourth, 34 points further back from Ferrari. And we're going to jump straight to the aerodynamics with a major drag reduction upgrade with a new front wing gurney flaps, and so this upgrade should get us from the bottom of the comparison charts in this department ahead of Audi Sport, which is pretty big because we've had a lot of work to get done just to even get close to Audi, and so this could leapfrog us, which will be absolutely huge in car performance. And now we've got that out of the way, it's time to go into this secret meeting, and once again we are approached by Haas Toyota. They were talking to us last season, but we declined, and taking a look at all of the information we can see at this first talk is their performance. So after the first 2 rounds, they have a best finish of 8th position with Ocon, and that was in the last episode at Miami. And as for their Constructors' Championship position, they currently sit in 8th. And to our comparison, our best finish is 4th in Australia, and the team sits 4th in the Constructors' Championship as well. So for this time round, we're going to, unfortunately, decline again. So I'm sure Haas Toyota is starting to get a bit familiar with being declined, because that is the second time now it's happened from us as well.
Hey, just a quick one for me. The team are pleased that you've declined that meeting. Gold star, brownie points, etc., etc. I guess we'll see if anything else more exciting comes calling, but let's focus on our current seat for now.
Well, it seems that the team is absolutely loving that we have declined talks with a rival team, but to be honest, not really a rival team at this stage of the series, still well and truly clear of them in the constructors standings. And we're going to jump straight back to the aerodynamics, because after fast forwarding some time a little bit, we have enough points to have a look at the minor drag reduction upgrade, and this time it is going to be with some new wheel rim covers, and this should jump us ahead of Racing Bulls Ford if it was to come through. And now taking a look at the weather, it is hopefully going to stay dry for the weekend, but there is a threat of some rain right at the end of the Grand Prix, so hopefully with there being no incidents on track, we can hopefully stay green for the entire race and skip that part, because so far in this series the wet weather has not been our friend. And now taking a look at the performance charts, we've made brilliant ground once again and nearly back on par with the leaders. McLaren now move ahead of Red Bull Ford, and we move into the 3rd fastest car. The only other team to bring an upgrade this weekend was Haas Toyota, with Audi Sport now rounding out the field as we head straight into qualifying.
It's a Catalonian qualifying for you today. Welcome along to Spain, to Barcelona, and wherever you are in the world. Do you feel the need? The need for speed?
With the upgrades on the car for this race weekend, I'm hoping that we can try and get ourselves a bit further up the field in Q3. So far, qualifying has not been our strong suit, so this time around with the upgrades, the car being much better, we can try and get ourselves further up the field. At the end of our first flying lap, it was an alright lap, but went around for another times lap on this set of tyres. Ended up going P7, so it was alright, but you can see just how far we fell down the order. We're now in 14th, and I very much felt like we weren't going to make it through. So I went out and used a second set of tyres, and that time around, that put us into 10th position, which was good enough to get us through, with Lando Norris fastest in qualifying 1 by 3/10 to Max Verstappen. Colapinto up in 3rd, 700ths behind his teammate, and Will 9/10 off the pace in the end, and knocked out in qualifying 1 was Oliver Behrman by 600ths ahead of his teammate Esteban Ocon to make it both Haas Toyotas out of this session. Nico Hulkenberg, our teammate Sonny Hayes in 20th position. Bortoletto makes it both Audis out, and Isaac Hadjar at the end of the field. And we'll be starting off qualifying 2 using a set of already used tyres, so trying to save our good rubber for the final flying lap here in qualifying 2. But unfortunately, we're going to find ourselves with a slow Ferrari in front of us. We're a little bit out of sequence, and in the end, Leclerc, what are you doing, son? Drives off the racing line, so I thought we were absolutely fine, kept pinned, was doing my quali lap, and then right at the last second swerved across the racing line. We had to back out the throttle and take avoiding action. Luckily, though, we had enough pace to still improve and go into 9th position with Oscar Piastri fastest in Q2 by 400ths to Carlos Sainz. Norris is in 3rd, only 5 thousandths behind Carlos, and myself in the end 7 tenths behind. Knocked out in qualifying 2, it's Fernando Alonso by 3 thousandths ahead of his teammate Paul Aaron to make it both the Aston Martin Hondas out of qualifying. Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, bit of a shocker here in Spain, knocked out in qualifying, and the second Alpine Mercedes of Lance Stroll with Liam Lawson tailing the field in qualifying 2. And we've only got the 1 lap in Q3 here because we used an extra set to try and make sure we made it in Q3, and in the end that will be good enough for us to get 8th position with Max Verstappen on pole position for the Spanish Grand Prix. Joining him on the front row is Oscar Piastri, with Norris in 3rd, missing out on the front row by only 400ths of a second.
Welcome along, everyone, to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Leclerc, George Russell and Sainz, Antonelli, Pearce, Albon and Franco Colapinto, Fernando Alonso, Aaron, Pierre Gasly and Hamilton, Stroll, Lawson, Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon, Hulkenberg, Hayes, Bortoletto and Isaac Hadjar rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box this afternoon, the First Lady of World Motorsports, Naomi Schiff. Now, Ant, you always tell me you know Barcelona almost as well as you know the back of your hand. Given the amount of testing that goes on here and the amount of laps that you and all the other drivers have done, what are the challenges that are left when it comes to the race?
Well, this certainly is a favourite track when it comes to testing. And I'll tell you why that is. It's because it offers up so much variation. You've got corners that are fast, that are slow, that are long, that are short. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to work with. But T9 is one of my personal favourites because it is so challenging. Every time you get there, you think, should I lift or should I stay flat? Well, I tell you, stay flat. Commit.
All right, give me a quick radio check, please. Radio check. Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
So for today's strategy here in Barcelona, we're going for the one stop. The two stop does look very appealing, but from previous experience, the one stop is the way to go. So we will be starting on mediums and boxing on lap 16 for the hard tyres to the end of the Grand Prix as we line up now on the grid and we await the 5 red lights. And it is time to go in Spain for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a pretty good start. Carlos Sainz has had a bit of a mediocre start. We try to go to his outside. In the end, he squeezes us all the way to the grass, so we look to try and thread the needle between him and Kimi Antonelli. We keep our nose in there, and are we going to be able to do it? Yes, we can. We're able to go from P8 all the way up into P6 by the time we get to turn 3, and that was absolutely perfect for ourselves to be able to find the gap between the two of them and get ourselves up into 6th position. Up at the front of the field, though, it is Max Verstappen leading the way by already over a second to the two McLarens, so Verstappen definitely looking like he is the man to beat here in Spain. But it's his teammate Franco Colapinto that's on the charge, overtaking Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. Colapinto there in that Red Bull Ford, trying to get himself further up the field because his teammate Max Verstappen By the time we're on lap 5 here, he's already got a 3-second lead. So Verstappen's absolutely flying. Colapinto gets himself now up into 8th position. And now it's Charles Leclerc's turn to use this DRS and get himself up onto a provisional podium at the moment, now splitting the two McLarens. Further behind, Antonelli, he's falling further behind as he now gets himself overtaken by the Aston Martin Honda of Fernando Alonso. And you can see that we're currently just cruising a little bit. We're currently sitting in P6, it's lap 6. We've still got a long way to go. We're just trying to save the tyres here because you saw on the strategy screen that we're going to be facing quite a bit of wear towards the end of each of our stints, and the objective that we've got is to try and stay ahead of Carlos Sainz, and that William is a little bit slippery in a straight line, so definitely got to make sure that we use the DRS well to try and stay as close as we can to George Russell. But he had a shocking exit out of the final corner, and so we're going to take advantage of that, catch him napping a little bit. We swing it around the outside. A tiny little bit of contact was made, but that is us now up into 5th position. So if we can try and make overtakes like that happen, we're going to be in a really good position here, because I don't think we've got an absolute really rapid car. I just think that if we can try and pick our moments, we can definitely get ourselves a really good result here, and that P5 is definitely showing it with an improvement from our qualifying position. But for the tail end of the podium here, it is Lando Norris versus Charles Leclerc. Once again, Leclerc looking to try and get himself to stay on the podium, with Norris trying to get that position back away. Remember, just a few laps ago, it was Leclerc that got that overtake done, and look right behind them. There we are, but we have now got George Russell and Carlos Sainz very much in tow. So it's now a 5-car train for this final podium position. Oscar Piastri sits in 2nd position, and Max Verstappen, a league of his own, 5 seconds up the field. And now Leclerc down the inside at turn 1, and surely this is going to be him now up onto the podium, and he is now up onto the podium, taking that position away from Lando Norris. Further down the field though, Kimi Antonelli, he's battling it out to try and stay within the points. Thankfully for him, it is Lewis Hamilton and Pierre Gasly that have caught themselves up in a little battle, and that's allowed Antonelli to now break that DRS from these cars here, and that should keep him in position 10 just for the time being. We complete our objective, and we use the run that we've currently got to try and see if we can't catch Lando napping as well around the outside, just as we did on George Russell. And that is us now up to 4th position, and taking advantage of the fact that he didn't have too much of a slipstream there, because you could see the gap that was falling away from Charles Leclerc. He wasn't able to stay with the Ferrari, so it looks like the McLaren may be using up quite a bit of their tyres early in the stint and struggling towards the end of it, because you can see there on the totem now, he's still in P5, but we've nearly dropped him out of the DRS. He's hovering at about 7/10 of a second. It's currently at half a second because he closed up during the DRS. But for the rest of the lap, we're able to absolutely drop him, as now Alonso gets himself back ahead of Franco Colapinto, and that Aston's actually looking pretty good late into the stint, as now we look to try and see if we can't take Charles Leclerc as well. We're really looking after our tyres here, and it is proving dividends as we make another overtake going into turn 1. We're able to carry so much speed through the final corner with the extra grip that we've got to give us such a slingshot run down the main straight that in the end, we've just got way too much speed going into turn 1, and so we're using it to make those overtakes, and that has now got us up onto a provisional podium. So we're going to have to make sure that in the second stint we can try and do the exact same thing we've done here, which is to look after the tyres and get ourselves good tyre life towards the end of the stint. Our next objective has arrived, which is to drain the ERS, and so with our pit window coming up, we need to be putting in these fast lap times, because we don't want to try and get caught out by the Ferrari or the McLaren behind us with an undercut or even an overcut. Could cause some strategy headaches for the team on the pit wall, as now we come to the end of lap 15. We're about to start lap 16, so about half race distance of this Grand Prix, and it is time to come in. We've got this lap to do, and we'll be in the lane. We also passed our objective to drain the ERS. We've drained plenty of it, as behind us this should give us a bit of breathing room, because now it's Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc once again battling. We have now got that 1 second buffer that we need to them to get rid of that DRS. But Max Verstappen, what a first stint he's done. He's going to be boxing from the lead with over 10 seconds of lead to Oscar Piastri in that McLaren. So he has worked absolute wonders, and he is 100% the man to be at the moment. He's won the first 2 Grand Prix. He didn't get the win in the sprint race in Miami, but Grand Prix wise, he is undefeated. 1 in Australia, 1 last time out in Miami, and he looks on course to win this one too. And I'm saying that at half race distance, because 10-second lead is a bit hard to overcome by no matter what you throw at it. So we pull in now into our pit box to go onto the hard compound tyres, and very good stop from the boys and girls at Apex Racing. And unfortunately though, I missed the button for my pit limiter, and so that 1 second gap we did have to Charles Leclerc, absolutely gone. He's right behind us. Fernando Alonso sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on his fresh set of tyres, and now Leclerc goes by us. We try to hang it around the outside. He gives us the squeeze over onto the curb, and he goes on through. So now we have to try and defend from Lando Norris as well. But the focus is definitely going to be on trying to get back by Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari and get ourselves back onto the podium, because now that the pit cycle has been done and we know the pace that we've got if we look after these tyres, a podium is 100% on the cards, which I did not think I was going to be saying this early into the season, considering how much performance we lost during the off-season. But now, taking a break to have a look at the order here. So it's Max Verstappen leading the way by 15 seconds to Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc rounding out the podium. Myself in fourth, and then it's Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton drifting it around turn 5, and then it is Alex Albon rounding out the points, followed by Pierre Gasly. Franco Colapinto's dropped outside the points, so his pit window hasn't gone too well. Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, Kimi Antonelli, Paul Aaron, then our teammate Sonny Hayes is in 17th position, so hoping for a bit better of a result than 17th. Gabriel Bortoleto, Oliver Behrman, Liam Lawson, Lance Stroll in 21st position, and then it's Isaac Hadjar tailing the field in 22nd spot in his Racing Bull Ford, as now back on board with ourselves. We've got the speed on Charles Leclerc. We look to the outside. He didn't give us as much room as I was expecting. I think he was just trying to get us to go to the inside, so we go onto the grass, but we still get the move done. And that's us back up into a provisional podium now. And so we have got 4 seconds to Oscar Piastri. We saw in the first stint with Lando Norris that the McLarens were dropping off at the end of their stint. Can we maybe look after the tyres just a tiny little bit more and try and get some speed against Oscar Piastri? We get our next objective here to drain some fuel, because we've got a heap of fuel on board, and with all of the tyre compensation that we have done, we have also been saving quite a bit of fuel. So it's kind of a bit of a save tyres, but also save some fuel. So it's it's going to make the car a little bit heavier, but hopefully we can outdrive that hiccup that we'll be facing. We fail though the burning fuel, so it looks like the car will be a little bit heavy for the end of the Grand Prix. You can see there though, the gap to Oscar Piastri was dropping just a little bit, but then we had that small battle with Charles Leclerc as he was trying to take the podium back away from us, and so that gap went over 4 seconds, but you can see it's very much fluctuating between the 3.8 and 4 seconds. Now onto lap 26, that has dropped to 3.5 seconds, so we've definitely got the pace, but Charles Leclerc keeps sending it down our inside. I'm trying to not use too much battery here. I need to try and save it for other parts of the circuit, but you can see just him sneaking the nose up has now put that gap back up to 4 seconds, and so we need to make sure that he cannot do that anymore to ourselves. But it looks like we won't have to worry about that, because on cue of us complaining, he is now slowing, going down the main straight. Is this an engine failure? Is it a mechanical? What is going on to Charles Leclerc to come to a near stop on the racing line? He's collided with Lewis Hamilton. The Ferraris collide in Spain. It is an absolute disaster, and it was an engine failure, and he swerved across the racing line in the braking zone and caused damage to Lewis Hamilton. Now Hamilton is in the lane, so it's an absolute disaster for Ferrari. One car is out, and the other one has to come in for a late race pit stop here to repair the front wing, and look at the damage that was on that. He's going to go onto the soft compound tyres, but I don't think that's going to really do too much for Lewis here. And how far is he going to now be fooling down the field? Because it's quite a long pit lane here in Barcelona, so I would imagine he's going to be fooling maybe behind Oliver Behrman and picking that gap between Behrman and Hulkenberg. Here comes that Haas Toyota, and it looks like Hamilton's actually going to get just in front, and it's a good thing he got in front, because look at the battle he would have been stuck in. It's an Audi versus a Haas Toyota, and in the end, it's going to be Hulkenberg now getting himself ahead of Behrman. But wow, how things have changed in this race. The Ferraris were looking for at a pretty solid double points finish here in Spain, and that's turned into a 15th and a DNF for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, as Kimi Antonelli is trying to get himself now up into 9th position. He can't do it. Gasly holds on. Antonelli will hold on to that 10th position, but there's about 4 or 5 cars there all battling it out to try and get that 10th position. And look at this. We have now got DRS on Oscar Piastri. Once we lost the threat from behind with Charles Leclerc when he had that DNF, we have been able to lock in and we have reeled in Oscar Piastri. We've taken excellent care of our tyres compared to the McLaren. As Sainz, he's now out of the Grand Prix with also, I would imagine, a mechanical failure, because if it was a bigger incident, we probably would have seen a full course stoppage here. But we continue on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. We're reeling it in with the DRS. We go to the outside. We sweep across the nose of him at turn 1. And that is us now up into second position. But it's 25 seconds to Max Verstappen. So I don't think the win is going to be on at all unless there's some sort of miracle of a late race failure for Max Verstappen. But we get ourselves up into second position on the last lap. We've reeled him in, and that is hard work paying off. We were very consistent. We were just doing everything in our power to try and reel him in, and it feels so good to be able to get that move done as Antonelli gets himself up into 9th position ahead of Pierre Gasly. He's been trying to get that move done for the last couple of laps, but Max Verstappen, he needs no luck here in Spain. He wins by 26 seconds ahead of myself. We've still got to navigate this final part of the circuit, but you can see that I reckon the McLaren really was just falling off with its tyres, because you can see Fernando Alonso in his little train have also caught up to the back of us, and we just kind of dragged them along with us, and we're going to take a very well-needed podium. It's been a while, and it feels so good to be back up in a good position.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
Wow, that's 3 wins in a row. They really are on a roll now and really building great momentum. They're clearly one to look out for.
From lights out to the checkered flag, this is what they're racing for. It's points and a trip to the podium. One of the all-time greats celebrates yet again. It's another podium, it's another top step for Max Verstappen.
So that was win number 3 this season for Max Verstappen. He is so far the only Grand Prix winner this season as well, and he didn't just win this race. As I said, absolute domination from Max Verstappen. It was a last lap overtake for myself to get that P2 away from Oscar Piastri. And yeah, as I said, we were working so hard to bring that gap down. And while we were battling Leclerc, that gap was hovering at about 3.8 to 4 seconds. And so when we finally broke free of that Ferrari, we were able to try and catch Piastri and succeeded. The rest of the top 10 was Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, George Russell, Franco Colapinto, Esteban Ocon, Kimi Antonelli and Pierre Gasly, with our teammate Sonny Hayes in 12th in the end with a decent recovery from 20th position, and Charles Leclerc was the only non-finisher as Carlos Sainz was still classified as 2 laps down. Max Verstappen extends his championship lead to 34 points ahead of Oscar Piastri, and then it's Norris in 3rd, 2 points behind his teammate, myself in 4th, 4 points behind Lando, and Sonny Hayes in 16th, still yet to score a point this season. And Red Bull, Ford and McLaren are tied on points in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari take 3rd, 36 points behind. Apex GP, we're 4th, 16 points further behind, and our driver ratings experience has gained some points. Racecraft is up to level 88, awareness to level 87. The pace has lost some points, which is a bit surprising. Focus to level 86 for an overall driver rating of 88, and after the secret meeting today and declining it, the driver recognition has now gone up to 57%. And that will be all for this episode. So if you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe. And for the next episode, we have yet another secret meeting. So with such a short season ahead of us, only 10 rounds, these are coming in thick and fast. And if we're going to be able to do drives like what we just did today, I'm hoping we might be starting to attract the attention of some bigger teams and see what they might be able to offer us. Yes, we did have the bigger teams as an option to drive for at the beginning of the season, but none of them actually approached us for a secret meeting. And once we have completed the secret meeting, it will be off to the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'll see you then.